Hey, folks, and welcome back to the Women of Water Get Real virtual summit on why and where and when we are leaking women from the water career pipeline, how we can stop the leaks and get them back. We happen to be recording this particular interview on International Women's Day, a time when a lot of women are talking about their mentors and the women that really inspired them. And I realized that I need to include in this program the woman who has really been a tremendous mentor and role model to me, a tremendous source of support at a very challenging time in my life, which we will talk about in a minute. A time when we all need mentors. It's not just the kids, it's not just the young folks just out of school. It's at every point in our lives we need mentors, and this woman has been a tremendous mentor. The former and longtime head of California's Water Education Foundation, was a journalist turned powerhouse in the water industry because of her amazing skills at reporting, at bringing people together, really diving into the issues. A role model for me, a role model for WaterCitizen. And please join me in welcoming Rita Schmidt Sudman. Thank you for being here, Rita.
Glad to be here, especially on International Women's Day. We've come a long way. My daughter tells me, she's in her 30s, Mom, your generation, you really did a lot. You got it down the goalpost, but you didn't get it over. You got down the field, but you didn't get it over the goalpost. And I said, you know what? We did a lot, but now you guys, now you get it over, because we took it down a long way. We can talk about some of those things. They're kind of shocking to younger women and even men, but they really happened. It was, it was tough times, and the women older than me even had it worse. But we've made a lot of progress. We have to celebrate that, and I think today is a day to do that.
We certainly have made a lot of progress, and you see that all the time. Things are much better. The numbers are different. The diversity of all sorts, not just gender, race, everything. And yet things still go wrong, and we don't always acknowledge that, and we don't always put the systems in place and the processes in place to protect women if things go sideways. And so we were talking about that right before the call as well. And I think it's very common for women who have not experienced that yet, whether it's gender discrimination at work, whether it's sexual harassment, to think, oh, that doesn't happen anymore. That's something that's bygone. I hear that all the time from millennials, the new Gen Zs. And I think, I used to be the same way. When I was, getting out in the market, I thought, oh, that's my mother's generation. That's that 70s women's lib stuff. I don't need to be into that stuff because, now we have Title IX and Roe v. Wade that we don't have anymore. And we have all these other things. All I have to do is get the right degrees and the right certifications. Tell me what to do. Tell me what license. I have 5 degrees in 5 fields, because every time something came up, I said, well, fine, I'll go get a geology degree. Fine, I'll go get an engineering degree. And yet that's not what?
That is a real trap for women. We always think, because we're kind of told, and it's with minorities too, it's across the board, I can show them, I can be better, I can get 16 degrees, and then I can speak. Maybe I can't speak now. No, that's just to keep you in your place, to keep you trotting along. Yes, you should have those, a certain amount of pedigree, etc. But a lot of that is what you just described, the overthinking that, I can't talk until I can do that. Well, it doesn't keep these men from talking, and I'm not.
Nothing stops me from talking.
But it was when saying what they wanted.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm not speaking up, but it's not just the opportunity to speak and use your voice. It's actually getting the damn promotions. It's getting into the higher level positions. And you know, when we are taking a stand, when we are being empowered, when we are being confident, when we are learning to communicate, we are all these other things that women are told, you need to fix this, fix that, fix this, fix that. And yet when the promotions come up, yeah, well, you know, we need this, we need that, this guy's got it.
Well, part of that is the comfort level of people who look like each other. And we're going to see more women and then giving more women a chance. But men, you know, and I'm talking the old days, starting in this business at the end of 1979. So you can really see how far I go back. Men are, you know, comfortable in the water business with a certain model, which is the male engineer, the white male engineer. And, you know, that's changing. It has changed a lot, especially since 50% of the engineering class or so is women now. So that has changed. And women will get more comfortable hiring women. We've always been taught to compete against each other, which is really bad, and be our own worst enemies. We need to learn to be supportive of each other. And because the men, you know, I saw this with my husband, John, who was a DA and then a public defender. The male attorneys would go and fight it out, and one of them would win and one of them would lose, and they still go to the bar together. Ah, ha, ha, da, da, da. When I saw the women lose a case or win a case, they sometimes would take it really hard and be upset and maybe just go home and not even talk about it. And they were missing that opportunity, that camaraderie. They should have gone into that bar. They didn't have to drink, but gone into that bar and go, ha, 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 da, 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 because that's what it took. And so, you know, we didn't get raised in school the way the guys did. We're more, well, you can't do it, or we're more sensitive. And we just have to get out there and we have to keep that smile on our face. I don't care. You shouldn't have to, but, you know, get out there and do it, and be friendly, but fight your way and stand your ground.
And you know, you're raising a good point. I don't think I've mentioned this in any of the other interviews, but and first of all, you know, as I've said, I love working with guys. And in fact, I was one of those girls who played on the boys' soccer team since I was in fifth grade, and hung out with the guys. And, you know, I was much more comfortable with that mission driven. You know, if we're on the team, we're all on the same team, whether you don't have to like each other or not, it just get in there and work together. Right. It's, you know, I deal with virtual assistants every now and then where it's like, if I say, no, you got to get this done, and then I have to worry about whether they got upset that I said something that they didn't like. Right.
Right.
And, or are they going to quit on me all of a sudden because they don't like what I said? So there's a, you know, so to understand that when we're in this field, we've got some pretty big things that we're working on: climate change, aging infrastructure, drought, you know, just whatever, you know, whatever it is that we're dealing with, it's important stuff. And some of that, you know, it's kind of pick your battles. Yeah. If something is causing you not to advance, if it's just kind of little petty stuff, there's got to be a time to just let it go. And especially with other women, I've had administrative assistants who wouldn't work with me because they only wanted to work with men. I've had administrative assistants who said, "Oh, you think you're better than us," and like trashed my desk, stuff like that when I was out at a meeting. You know, moved my desk when I was in a meeting, and this is what I was doing, heading business development. I had the stack for each of the proposals we were going after. Plus, I was doing my dissertation, so I had all of my stacks for my different, you know, research, lit review, all that kind of stuff. And she took it and moved it to another cubicle deliberately while I wasn't there, and mixed everything together and said, "Well, that's what it looks like anyway." And it's just like,
well, that's the you know, the tough part. And I want to give some credit to the younger generation of men too, because, they've got good mothers that are my age, and they've learned a lot because their mothers have taught them. I've seen this, and so we have made a lot of progress. We just have to keep on going.
Yeah, yeah. And we do, and we need to have, work with men, talk with men. When men get with other men, it's like they're like quoting Forbes magazine articles about what they read about women rather than asking the women in their office, what they think or what they're experiencing. And then you've got women supporting other women, especially the younger women. And I know that, when I was in San Diego and we lived, so really funny, Rita retires and moves down to San Diego 2 blocks from where I was living. She'd be like, "Have you eaten yet today? Come over. I'm going to make you lunch."
Well, we got to support each other. We have to support each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when and I was looking for work, I was trying to apply for jobs, and with younger hiring managers, it's like, hire the older woman. If she's applying for the job, there's a reason, that she wants it. It's not the old, well, you're supposed to be at this level at this age, this level at that age, this level at that age. And I've had women tell me, oh, these young women are like, oh, right before the pandemic, I went in for an interview, and the one young woman who it was embedded in DOE, which I'd done before. And one goes, the technical lead, she's like, "I don't understand this place. I don't understand how things work here. It's like, I can help you with that." She's like, "I can't be here. I got to run back to the office." Boom. She goes back up to upstairs. And the other one's like, "Well, I know you don't really want this job because you'd be really, really bored. And I only called you in because you have a PhD and you're such a pioneer and you remind me of my mother." And it's like, just give me the damn job.
Well, I want to say one thing that is about ageism. It's sort of forced on us in our society. Every 10 years you get older, when someone hires you, they have to pay a lot more for your insurance. It's still that way. It was that way when I was managing the Water Education Foundation. And you don't want to think, oh, this 50-year-old person or this 55-year-old person is really right, but I'm going to have to pay a lot more money for this person's insurance than the 35-year-old. And that's really bad. That forces us to have a bit of an ageism thing. Nobody will admit it. It's one of the secrets out there. But that is one reason why older men and women don't often get the jobs, because they aren't 65 yet. They aren't on Medicare, and insurance is important to them. And it really starts skyrocketing when you're like in your late 40s or something. So, it isn't just sexism, it's ageism, but it's built in our society because of people have their medical insurance attached to their jobs. And we can talk about how that's really inappropriate and not the way it should be, but it is the way it is.
Right. Well, and probably that's one of the reasons why Rita and I went from being just professional colleagues and when we first met, just to tell you a little backstory, we first met when I was still in grad school and applying, was helping to create Colorado's first water education foundation. And California at that point had already been around for 20 years, something like that, 15, whatever it was, long time. And we had Rita come out to speak and keynote about, what does it take to bring all the different groups together and have conversations, and the films you were doing with Val Kilmer and doing great stuff. And what was possible for us with this new foundation, which I actually ended up being up for the position to get it in Colorado, was later offered one in Nevada, which I should have taken. But years later, when we reconnected, I had actually just been diagnosed with cancer. And as an entrepreneur, to your point about insurance, I basically had to make some adjustments of making sure that I didn't earn any money so that I could go below the poverty line so I could get Medicaid so I could save my own life.
That's a very sad
That,
story.
yeah, that, and a waste of talent, that if I had been working for a large firm, if it weren't for some things that had happened last time I was a large firm, I told that story to many times already, but, um, if I was with a firm, I would have had a decent doctor. I would have been diagnosed, gotten the surgery, done the radiation probably in about 6 months. But because I was on Medicaid, and in my 40s with, a disease that is often associated with women who are much older, I couldn't get people to believe me. I got put off and put off and put off. You had to go, 3 different getting, approvals before you could get anything done. And so it created this huge gap in my work life. I mean, I was still doing WaterCitizen stuff, and that was actually one of the points at which we converted to a 501c3. So to ensure that any money that WaterCitizen makes goes straight into the 501c3 and would not jeopardize my ability to get healthcare because of the way our healthcare system is set up.
Well, we can talk about that a long time and it's pointless, but we've all struggled with it. I had, breast cancer and it was 20 years ago. So I tried to put it in the past, although, I just had a exam recently that I was worried about, but it turned out okay. So, but, it's very important that everybody working in this field does get insurance and is taken care of. That's so important so that you can do your job. And when I went through all of that, it was funny. People said, "Oh, you should just stay home and da da da." And I'm like, no, I don't want to stay home and feel sorry for myself and sit there look at the dirty laundry. I'm going to go to the office where people say hello to me. And I found that a lot of times I had brain fog and I had a little bit of this and that, but it helped to be in a productive place where people were supportive. And, that goes along with solving any problems in water or any issues. We're all going to have our ups and downs health-wise, and if we can have support, that's good. And it can really help you along your way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're absolutely right that having that support while you're going through this and keeping, a positive outlook, or just being able to have conversations with people where you don't have to think about it all the time. Right.
And it's tricky.
And I'm so grateful you were there for me then.
It's tricky too, because I noticed that it helped me to tell people I'm going through this, and men and women. And I got a lot of support that way. But I also heard in the background some people saying, "Oh, she tells everybody she's going through cancer. Should she want sympathy or this and that?" So there were sniping people.
The cancer card.
But the people that were supportive, I really felt it helped me. Now, I will say something that may be controversial, but if I had cancer a second time, if it reoccurred, I would not have told anyone. And the reason is they would start writing me off because the first time, everybody's supported. The second time, it's like, well, we better not work with her. She might die or quit on us. Now, it's a horrible thing to say, but and it didn't happen to me, so I didn't have to do it. But I can see why women and men talk about their illnesses, and I can also see at certain points why they don't. And
right.
Just have to choose what you need to do if you want to stay working and in the business.
And what your environment is. And part of this, I mean, there you were at a water education foundation where you had more women around you, right? And I've also heard from, for women who work in primarily male offices, not comfortable talking about hysterectomies or mastectomies or any of that stuff, and B, whatever familiarity they had with it probably came from being a child who had lost a parent, a mother, a grandmother, a aunt, whatever, at a time when these things were much less survivable.
Right. So
And so they get all freaked out, right?
exactly. That's a good way of saying it. That's what we don't want to be, women go through with childbirth, and I did that too, and some of these other things. We don't want to be written off because we have certain things. We want to be productive. We want to be doing our work. But we want to be able to balance it a little bit too. And believe me, I think that can make you a better, more productive person because you're more well-rounded. But you have to not cry and use it as an excuse. You have to, try to handle it. And I'm glad that there's a little more support in society. There isn't enough. We don't have childcare. We don't have the kind of things we should have. But it's not as bad as, when I was told when I worked in TV from the news director, you women don't even belong here. So don't complain about anything. You won't hear that now out loud.
Right. I mean, there may be sort of the well-meaning, oh, well, you'll never get this kind of thing. And so maybe it'd be better off if you did business development or, project management. Women don't really get to the top as an operator or whatever, and a director of operations or something. And it's, yeah. I mean, it just, and when those things do still happen and we think they're done, it's like a punch in the gut, and it literally takes your breath away. There's no response to it because whether it was me reading, Free to Be You and Me, or the kids today coming out of their women in engineering programs and things like that. And they are, there's so many millennials and, now Gen X or Gen Z, and they're all hanging out with other women and they think it's not going to happen. But when it happens, well, for one thing, people have to believe you that it happens, including other women. And, if you go to them and say, well, no, I know this guy and he'd never do something like that, you must have misinterpreted it. I mean, it's bad enough to not be believed by a man. It really sucks to not be believed and not be supported by a woman, right? If they, women who maybe have a husband in the industry or father was, a scion of the industry, was a top leader of the industry or something, have that protection. I think single women get it worse. I think pretty women get it worse, and if it hasn't happened to you, it's like, be willing to believe that it still happens. It's not just, oh, she's just making that up to get attention.
Yes, I agree. I think one of the things we were going to talk about that segues into this is mentorship for women, especially today. And it was 25 years ago now that I helped start, I did start the Water Leaders Program, and based for the Water Education Foundation, that was mentorship of women in their 30s that have accomplished something, that are, their degrees and they're working, but they're just not getting maybe where they need to go, or they need help. And so, one of the things, and I encourage this for mentorship programs, and I see there's more mentorship programs in the water business, but I made sure that I asked these people to be mentors. And at the time, many of them were men. And I said, you mentor this younger woman, and most of them were really good about it. And they learned a lot doing it. But I often tried to pick people of different fields so that this woman engineer, say, would go and be mentored by an environmentalist, or a state agency person would be mentored by a federal, totally different people that both of them could learn something from. So not only did it help the younger woman, and some of these were men too, of course, but the younger people being mentors, but the mentors themselves had to realize there's different people coming into this business now. There's diversity that never was here, because we know that the water business has been a white male business traditionally. It's changing, yes, but that's the basis of it. It always has been that way. So to make the mentors change with the mentees was a good combination, and that model still exists. And there have been over 600 people that have graduated from that program, and some of the relationships with mentors and mentees have become lifelong, and it's really rewarding.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and it is really important to recognize that, now you got the Water Leaders Academy and the associations, and you got Duke has got their wild program. It's a lot.
And there was nothing like that even a few years ago.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you though, there is still this idea that it's young people or people maybe have a few years experience that need to be mentored. And, and we don't say young professionals anymore. We say rising professionals. And they're like, well, we're really talking about people under 35. Right now, I'm working with a volunteer, intern, if you want to call it that, who's, she works for a water organization, but has some time and has been helping us put this summit together. She's been tremendous. And she was a non-traditional student, had like, I don't know, 10, 15 years or so at Walmart doing logistics, worked her way up, got into Wellesley as what they call a Davis Scholar, these non-traditional older students. And so now she's already over 35. And so things like discounts for, we were trying to figure out if I wanted to have her come with me when I present at AWWA, will she get a discount, or has she aged out already? We keep having these programs to bring in veterans or, whatever, people getting out of prison into water fields, but can they come to our conferences? Are they eligible for the young professionals group? When we're trying to bring in people who are older and they have tremendous life experience, they have a lot to offer, and they're also still just starting to learn the ins and outs of the water professions.
Well, that mentorship program for the over 40 set, or the re-entering, we don't want to say over 40, but whatever, the so-called a little older, and the re-entry people, that's really important. And that isn't done. I don't see much of that. And I personally wanted to start a program like that, but I ran out of time, because what I would do is when that type of person applied for this Water Leaders program, and I knew it didn't work out because I tried to put some older people in the program and they didn't click with the other group. They didn't help each other out, which is not good, but it's the way it was. So I would individually, like 5 or 6 people that weren't right for the Water Leaders program, but I individually would meet with them and assign someone to help them and mentor them and say, you're not in this program, but I realize you need some help. I'm going to ask somebody I know, which is, if you've been in the business a long time, you can collect a few favors. You know a lot about people and you're like, you owe me. So I want you to help this person. I want you to meet with this person and just talk to this person. Maybe just have one meeting with them, maybe do this or that. And so, I feel like we have to make that effort if we can, because some women got a different route. They had that baby young, they took those years off, and many men didn't have to make that sacrifice, but women did. And now they want to get back into the game, and it isn't easy. It is not easy.
Yeah. 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 If anything comes out, I don't know how many people we're going to have all told together, maybe 40 women that we've interviewed for this, that if you've talked to one woman, you've talked to one woman, and this idea that all women want this, that, things like, the World Bank recommendations, their gender parity study about, if we just put lactation rooms and childcare in water utilities, that shows that they have handled all the issues required for women. Not all women have children, not all women can have children. And even if they did, lactating is a very small part of childcare compared to the entire length of time that you might be taking care of your child. And as part of it, or they could have longer child leave and still be able to get back in. And that's actually, you were going to say. Oh, I thought
What?
you were going to say something. Yes.
And no, I'm following what you're saying, and I was just thinking that when I was a young mother, I would never ever say I need to take my baby to the doctor, or I never used the child excuse like that because it was not acceptable. It was not, they would just look at you like, oh, you don't, I'd say, I have to go to the doctor, or, da, da, da. But I never would say, I have to take my daughter to the doctor, because it's like, oh yeah, you're on, come see, you shouldn't be working, and I know that that's out there, but I know it's a lot more supportive of women doing those kind of things. But I do want to say that, when you have to do these things, you still have to get your work done. And, you can't just say, oh, well, I'm a working mother and I need more time and more exception. No, I don't really support. I support you getting those appointments and doing what you need to do. But remember, if you have to do something at 7 o'clock at night, well, maybe you have to do it that way. It's a little tough, but it's never going to be easy. And, if we want that equality, we're out there and then maybe pretty soon, and I think we have seen the men taking the kids to the doctor. I know that my husband started doing that too, but it's hard. You're both busy people. I'm a journalist. He was a lawyer. You do what you can, but I think we need that flexibility. But in order to get that flexibility, we have to work with it too. So, let's just keep trying to make the workplace a better place for all people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And keep that mission driven, deadlines don't wait. Agency deadlines don't wait. Proposal deadlines don't wait. Floods don't wait, because yes,
Right.
Take care of kids, take care of yourself, and figure out a way to get it done, or find someone to delegate it to.
Emergencies happen. Yeah. And you don't want to be well, I can't do it. No, you got to find a way to get it done. That's the reality of the situation. And yeah, we are in a business where sometimes emergencies happen and things. I mean, look at what we're in right now. Most bizarre time. And like they said, in crisis is too good a thing to waste. A 1,200-year drought on the Colorado River. At the same time, the greatest snowpack in the Sierra is going to beat 1983, which is the biggest before. Floods are going to come this spring. Things are going to be happening. And we're going to be juggling even more, the women and the men.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, and sure too, that when it comes to kids, I think with women, especially if they don't have kids, it can be really easy to say, oh, well, you don't have kids. Why don't you go in this, can you go in this weekend and take care of that? It's kind of like the old,
not really fair.
If you could come in this weekend, that'd be great. From the office.
Well, one other thing real quick before we move on from this topic is that the pandemic really changed things in the workplace, and mainly for women. You see a lot of women, work from home. Well, a lot of offices didn't really believe that could be done. Well, it can be done, and people saw that. So that gave a little more flexibility to, a working mother or, men and women to work from home. Now, when we're trying to bring back to the office and, it's maybe a hybrid, but we also value the working together, not just on Zoom. And so the pandemic, I'm saying, gave us an opportunity to find a different way to work with our families. But also, we recognize that it's good to work together too. So it's a work in progress, but I don't think we would have had this leap to work from home and to have more flexibility for families if it hadn't been for the pandemic. So a blessing in disguise, in true disguise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the new work and, work from home and new boundary settings and all that other stuff. I know we're getting to the end of our time. I was curious about something, kind of a, not really a segue. What do you think, as someone who's been in communications in water for such a long time, and and I've been doing communications longer for such a long time, that when the water world and everybody else started going digital, and the folks in charge said, "Oh, we can't figure out all this electronic stuff," which of course during COVID they all did for sure because they had to. Well, and these Gen X people, well, they can do it. You got to get millennials. We're going to hire a millennial, and they're going to handle all of our communications. And now that whole slew, that slug of communications professionals, and have now they're turning 40, right? They've been around for a while, and so now, I mean, what do you think of that whole, oh, we're going to take care of all your communications for you. You technical people, you can't possibly communicate, as opposed to what we needed to do, which was really talk to people and listen to people and try to, really capture the nuances of water versus coming up with something cute and TikTok and shareable. And I don't know. Do you like
Well, I
watch
know that,
some of this
younger
stuff?
people, including my daughter, they like to communicate by text, etc. And we're more verbal, and I think women tend to be more verbal than men anyway. I think that it's bridging the generation gap. We both need each other. We both need each other with the skills that we bring to the table. Certainly the younger people that are great on the digital stuff, and I'm like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
We need that, but
Learn
they
this
need
stuff.
our kind of communication, problem solving skills that doesn't get done on a text sometimes, or this or that doesn't get done on a video. It takes people really talking and communicating. We see it on the world stage. We see it in the water world, partnerships. How are partnerships done? They're done by people making personal relationships. And that's what mentoring is about too. That starts moving that ball down the field, that we need the younger and the older generations. And I know this has been a big deal in the water world as the older generation like me transitioned out, still trying to have our 2 cents worth in to be helpful, but recognizing that there's younger people are taking the place. They do things differently, and that will be fine as long as they can solve problems and work in a positive, constructive way. But it does take communication, and many times that needs to be personal.
Yeah. Yes. I think that's so true. Communication is personal. And I mean, short stuff, TikTok, everything else, it's great. Love it. And it's a gateway. It's here's a little who we are. Let us know if you want more information. Follow us, download this free guide. Hey, let's have an email conversation. Hey, we're going to have a webinar coming up. Why don't you get on, or a live Zoom call? Why don't you come on and join us? We're going to have a little, women's roundtable. I was at one today that Amanda Jones does, this Women Crushing Wednesdays. And it's this amazing support system that she created for women. And that doesn't start with a long conversation. I mean, this summit is a lot of longer conversations, and that's very unusual in this space. We didn't go with little soundbitey kind of things because people are talking about, real stuff. We're getting real here. And I hope that those of you who are watching us, go ahead and type in the chat. Tell us what's going on with you. Where are you coming from? What have you had anything that we talked about resonated with you? Connect with others. These groups are where we can actually, everyone here is registered. There's no trolls. We're monitoring all the chat. We've got some really amazing people, both as speakers and in our audience. So please get to know each other and let's all support each other out there. So Rita, any final thoughts for this amazing group of people who are on the call?
I am so proud of this younger generation of women, and I don't mean just real young women, but coming from a time where I was one of the only women in a meeting, one or two of us, etc. In fact, I would get mixed up with this woman who didn't even look like me, another journalist, and we'd have to laugh. But to see, both in my field in journalism, to see the young women reporters, and to see the next generation of women in water, and the engineers, the lawyers, the communicators, I am so proud. I am so proud that I did push the ball down the field a ways, and I do appreciate it, because you women, you're going to take it over the goalpost. I know you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on back for more. We've got plenty of amazing women. We're so glad you're here. And Rita, thank you so much for being the amazing mentor and leader that has contributed so much in the water space. Appreciate your being here.
Thank you. Thanks, and good to talk to you. Glad it's going well. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for joining us for this extraordinary conversation, one of 45 extraordinary conversations we had as part of the Women of Water Get Real virtual summit, where we explored where and why women are leaking from the water career pipeline, how we can stop those leaks, and even bring women back to water. I hope that you will enjoy all of these amazing interviews. If you don't have a chance to watch all of them during the summit, you have the opportunity to join us with a power pack and get lifetime access to all the videos, as well as an opportunity to join us for 30 days in a brand new community where we will dig even deeper in live facilitated conversations about some of the issues that are facing women in water. Look forward to seeing you there. Please join us at watercitizen.org/women, watercitizen.org/women for more information. See you again soon.